Hi, everybody. Welcome to another session of Come Cloud with Us. I'm your host, Abdul Qazi, and I have my partner in crime, Chris Gale. Hey, Chris, how's
Thank
it going?
you. Hey, Abdul. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good.
Partner in crime, huh? All this time, and now I'm a man. No, this is good stuff. I will just say this. I'm excited for the session tonight. I know that we do a lot of SQL work, a lot of crazy stuff with databases and whatnot. So I can't wait to kind of kick this off. But glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we have amazing guests today. So Taiob Ali is here joining us. And Taiob, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Before we jump into the actual session, I want to kind of talk about a little bit about your personal passion. I see a lot of tweets from you, marathon cycling, and the funny thing is, you're also tweeting with other folks in Europe and other it seems like it's become a trend now. Like everybody's sharing. So kind of talk about that. How did you go about doing that, and how long have you been doing?
Right. So this is probably one of the longest Twitter thread. I don't know if we will ever make into Guinness Book of Record. I think we are about over 40 people right now that we share our runs, bikes, and all that. So in 2008, I could not run a single mile, and I couldn't finish a 1 mile. And today, anytime if you ask me to do a half marathon, I'll probably able to do it under 2 hours. So I did one 2 weeks ago. I have another one coming up this Sunday at 9:15 in Newburyport, Massachusetts.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds very exciting. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Nice. And
We're
talk to
just
me.
hoping for no snow, though. That's the thing, right? So no, we were talking a little bit behind the scenes, but a little bit of weather, right? Nice weather now. It's like
Yeah,
70s or so, and at least in U.S. degrees. But it looks like we're gonna drop. So fingers
yeah, this is
crossed.
perfect time for running, right? Till like December, right? Like October, November is the perfect time. First 1 and 2 mile is cold, then once you warm up, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And talk to us about your background. I know you've been in the IT industry for a long time now. So, talk to us about your experience with SQL and databases and just an
Sure.
overview.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know actually. This is my second career. I used to be, I was in merchant marine. So I drove ships, big container ships. I used to go to Montreal a lot through the whole St. Lawrence River, loading container, discharge container.
Oh,
So I did that for 11 years. And in 2001, I think my wife was doing it with me for 3 years. And we were in Felixstowe, UK. I still remember. And she said, enough is enough, we cannot do this anymore. So I came to US permanently 2002, and I had to make a living. So, I was good in math. So that what can I do? Because I only know how to drive ships and, load cargo, look at weather and all that. Uh, and then took a Java 101 class, 2002 summer, I still remember. Then gave my GRE, went into computer science. When I was in graduate school, I got a job at monster.com. And that's how I started working with data. And close to 18 years now. Uh, uh, I always had a full-time job. Currently in this place, I'm about 8 years. I worked with MongoDB for about 4 years, but primarily, and I'll admit, 6 years ago, if you tell me Azure Portal, I would look at you with big eyes, like, what is Azure Portal? I didn't know 6 years ago. So they hired me to move a whole data center to cloud. They said, you can learn and you can help us. So last year, November, we gave the key back to the vendor for the data center. So I still have a lot of stuff on premises, but we moved everything. So this is a 6-year long journey. I don't have those stories like lift and shift 300 servers in 2 months. No, we went environment by environment, and which I think I had great experience learning this from scratch till today. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's great, actually. Yeah. And with that being said, we'll get into the presentation. And then, folks, I put Tayyip's blog in there. So the presentation and notes are going to be uploaded there. So, Taib, you have the floor now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining. I know it's a work day. It's not easy after a full day of work coming here and listening to me. So I appreciate that. Um, this session will be a mix of demo and some slides. So I'll go through the slides very quickly because I'll share this with you from my GitHub repo. You can download, use it. So I'll just talk through and then we'll go into demo. And like uh, the organizer said, put your questions in the chat and they can relay that to me, and they can stop me if need to be. So I am not going to talk much about myself. I want you to take a note of my contacts because this will be a fast-paced session. There'll be a lot of demos. I might not show every nitty-gritty things. I did a lot of setup before all of us came online. So if you have any question, you can contact me through all this, my website, email, Twitter, or X, and I will respond to you for sure. Maybe not right away, but maybe within 2 or 3 days. So this is an URL. So when you download this will take you to a Microsoft web page from a Learn website, and this should be your one-stop shop. So this web page has hundreds of links. It gives you pretty much everything. And when I say everything, means migration from anything to anything, from different vendors to different platforms, structured database, non-structured, big, small, all kind of flavors. So this is a link that you definitely want to bookmark if you're looking at migration, any kind of database migration to cloud, and also in between different cloud providers. Now, this is also, if you see at the bottom, you'll see a link. If you go to this page, I know this page hasn't been updated since March 2019. This is an old blog post by one of the Microsoft employees, but I think this is a good reading for all of us. This kind of explain that how all these resources are governed when you deploy a resource in Azure, right? Because this is not your on-premises data center anymore. You don't own the equipments. You have no control on many things, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So I'm not going to read all this. I'm not going to explain, but this is one of the blog posts that you want to read and understand that whatever you are deploying, how Microsoft decide how much of these things you get, how many CPUs, how much memory per CPU, what kind of network IO you're going to get, because it all relate to the dollar, right? The more money you give them, the more you're going to get. The less money you want to use or expense, the less you get. But does that match with your requirement, right? So that's something you want to understand, that how Microsoft does it behind the scenes. So this is another link that you want to put. Now, I'll just take one example, right, out of all this. If you see on the second row on the right, log generation rate maximum. Why this is important? So if we just take this one matrix, right, Microsoft will throttle your transaction log generation. Why? Because unless Microsoft throttle that, right, if you are doing, say, like bulk insert, selecting to index rebuilds, right, with 8 CPUs in parallel, you can generate tons of transaction logs. Now, if Microsoft doesn't throttle that, how would Microsoft guarantee the SLA for recoverability, for high availability, for disaster recovery, for for performance guarantee that you get? The only way Microsoft can do this, I mean, there are many ways they can do this, but this is one of the metrics or one of the element that Microsoft is going to throttle and control. So that is why I said it is important for you to understand and read that, read this post, that how other stuff Microsoft is going to control when you allocate a resource. In Azure, and I'll primarily, all my talk is about Azure. I'm sure other cloud providers probably have something similar. I'm pretty sure. Now, when you go to cloud, you have many options. And I also divided these options in a couple of different groups. So let's talk about those. Primarily, when you are moving a SQL database, you'll be looking at these three options. Azure SQL Database. Now, within that, there are many flavors, which I'll talk about a little bit. Azure SQL Managed Instance and SQL Server on Azure VMs. Now, these three, all three has some distinct characteristics. So before you decide where you want to move to, you definitely want to educate yourself, and not only yourself, right? This should not be a decision just by database operations engineers, or if you're a data engineer, data operations engineer, database reliability engineer, whatever you call. This should not be a decision just by yourself. This should be a decision by couple of other people should be sitting with you, like your application owners, business owners, the developers. And if someone is looking at your overall HADR solution, they should look at it. And whoever is signing the check, right, they'll need to know how much money you're going to spend. Now, just if I have to give you overview, right? So Azure SQL Database, and I'm leaving hyperscale and Synapse on the side, because those are for you're talking about huge database. And if we go to the Synapse area, with the new Fabric release recently, we can be talking totally different topic tonight. So Azure SQL Database, if you have an application on a single database, smaller size, you're not doing much, cross join, even though you can do it. There is a way to do cross join between different Azure SQL database, but if you're doing a lot of those, maybe this is not a good solution for you. Um, Azure SQL Managed Instance is pretty much like for like what we have on premises SQL Server. You pretty much get all this functionality. SQL Server on Azure VM, you might pick this up if you have a always an availability group, maybe one of your node in on premises, maybe one in Azure, or maybe both in Azure. Or if you need to do a lift and shift in a short period of time, hundreds of servers, maybe that's a good option. And there are other scenarios, right? I'm not going to go through all this, but my point here is you want to educate yourself that what each one provide you before you make a choice. I know this slide might you might feel like this is out of sequence what our topic is, but if you are new to the cloud journey, and doesn't matter what cloud provider you go to, right? You go to Google or Microsoft or whatever. I know, of course, I did not write this. You can see, I copied this from there. um, you definitely want to understand this, because you need to decide, and again, not you as your company, your business, your security team, infrastructure team, everybody together, that what controls you are willing to give up to the cloud provider. Based on that, you should decide that what are the solutions that you want to deploy to or migrate to. And again, I'm not going to talk about this, but that's again something you should discuss, you should understand, and then you should decide what flavor of resources that you want to migrate to from your on-premises SQL servers. This is another chart that I created because I think some of these are important. So if you're downloading this slide, and if you're new to this will probably give you some idea. On the left side, you probably should go through each one and then compare. On the right side, I have, like what are the limitation of the size, right? Like I said, like Azure SQL Database can go up to 4 terabyte. Can all flavor of Azure SQL database can go to 4 terabyte? No. There are certain hardware type limitation. There are some, which I'll show you a little bit more. There are other limitations there that you want to think about it. And then if you go to the backup line on the right side, I crossed it and I said number 2. So there's something called SQL Server IIS agent extension. So if you let the extension take your backup, then you cannot take a differential backup. The only choice for you is the full and the diff, and the retention is only 90 days. So other thing that a lot of people get confused even today is a compatibility level. So when you go to Azure SQL Database or Azure SQL Managed Instance, today on premises, we say, okay, do you want SQL Server 2019 or do you want SQL Server 2022? You would not have these options anymore. The only way you can control the behavior is through the compatibility level. Microsoft actually asking all the vendors to certify their product no more on the on the version. They are saying you should certify your product version and compatibility level, because once you go to Azure SQL Database or Managed Instance, you have no control. They're always at the latest version, but you can still control your behavior by changing the compatibility level. So you want to understand those, right? What kind of high availability and disaster recovery solution comes with it? So like if you deploy a Azure SQL database in business critical, you automatically get some HADR capability. You automatically get a read-only replica, but what you do not get is a region redundancy. So you need to understand those, and based on that, what is SLA you need for your business, you do that. Like I literally have Azure SQL database that we solely rely on backup, because within 12 hours I can restore this backup in a different region if our primary region goes down. And that particular database, that application that's supporting, they are okay with this application being down for 12 hours, so they don't want to spend any extra money. But somebody cannot do that, so they have always an availability group like set up in Azure SQL database, that the SLA is only 30 seconds to fail over and recover on the other side. So again, the key point is you should study, understand, discuss with your partners in your company, and then decide where you want to go. So some of the factors, and here I'm really leaving a lot of things aside, like your performance, high availability, maintenance, monitoring, right? I'm not even going there. If you bring those into the mix, then this discussion can go in a different direction than just migration. So when you need to migrate, you know, are you starting, like a bulk, like you need to like push hundreds of databases to cloud within a short period of time, or you are just starting your journey, you'll be looking at app by app. So depending on that, on some of the decisions you will be making, how much downtime you have, because I'll show you in the demo that you can do online migration, you can do offline migration, both has advantage and disadvantage, right? These are some of the choices that you want to talk about. uh, this slide is strictly talking about past solutions. So Azure SQL Database, there is a concept of a single database and elastic pool. Now, why would you deploy into elastic pool, right? Especially if you're dev and you add resource, or if you have a business like around the world that's 24/7, that when it's off hour after 5 p.m. in US, um, Europe is probably night. But if you have business in Far East, that's the morning time, right? So you can share a couple of databases and share the same resource. And when I say resource, means your CPU, memory, and your IO, and you can keep your costs down. You can do this for your non-production environment, so you can look at those. Or you can just say, no, I cannot have, I cannot do this because the nature of your business or your application. You can just deploy everything per single database, and the resources will be dedicated to that and that single database. There are purchasing models. When you go to Azure SQL Database, you can go into vCore model, which is recommended by Microsoft, because initially when Azure SQL Database was released, the only option we had was the DTU, which is called Database Transaction Unit. And Database Transaction Unit, in a nutshell, I'm not going to go into details. It's the abstract of compute, memory, and IO resource, right? So it's abstract. So you just you say, I want 5 DTU or 10 DTU, but behind the scene, you get certain CPU, memory, and IO. But if you go to vCore model, it's pretty open to you. It's pretty clear how many CPUs you are getting, how much memory you are getting per CPU, and what is the how much IO you can push through. And then there are also serverless model. And again, you want to study what are the pros and cons of serverless model. I literally wrote a blog post because I can remember every time someone asked me at my work. So I literally wrote a blog post just for me, mainly to go back and refer to it, right? When you go to serverless model, and if you're turning on auto pause, it comes with a lot of restrictions. You cannot do a bunch of things. So you want to understand that, but it can save you some money. So it's a trade-off, right? So again, you want to understand all this before you embark into the migration. Just to give you an example, right? If you go to the uh, serverless, and if you do auto pause, as you see in this, the blue line, which is called minimum vCore, and then I have a max vCore. So I cannot exceed my max vCore. I cannot, even though I'm not using, if you look at the orange line, uh, you know, right here, I'm only using this, but because my minimum vCore is 1, so Microsoft has to guarantee or reserve a vCore for me. Even though I'm here, I may still have to, I'm paying for this. But as soon as I'm paused, I'm not paying anything for compute. Again, when I'm restarting, when I'm connecting again, it is going to start. But as you see, as I'm ramping up to this point, I'm still going to pay the minimum vCore. So, you know, you need to do some math, and you have to know how this billing works, because you're going to get questions, that how much money I'm going to spend. It's not like the old days. Once your server is racked in the data center, nobody's going to ask you about the cost. Those days are gone if you're moving to cloud. So you need to understand these maths. You need to do some calculations, understand by yourself, and tell them, if you go to this model, these are your disadvantage, but this much money you can save, and let them decide, right? uh, a lot of time, I talk to many people in the community. People make, I have a strong opinion that we are not the one to decide. We are here to give all the information, share them, talk to them, demo them, but ultimately the business owners, system owners, and whoever is writing the check, they have to tell us what model they want to deploy their solutions. There's also something called service tier, and again, like, read about those. With business critical, yes, you'll be paying more money, but like I said, you are getting built-in high availability disaster recovery solution. You get a read-only node, which from your connection listing, if you have read-only traffic, or if you have reports that running, you can automatically send those traffic to your read-only replica, and you can keep the other replica just for your read write. So even though you are paying more money, but you're getting more there. If you have database that's you can go up to 100 terabyte with the hyperscale, and the good part is you can refresh those within within minutes. So again, it's a different topic. Look at those. Again, there's another slide that really, I cannot decide where to put this slide in the sequence. I thought about a lot. I just put it here. It might sound random, and it is random. These are the two terms, DACPAC and backpack. You will hear a lot whenever you are doing migration to Azure. And instead of talking about this in detail, just so so DACPAC is a output of your schema, and backpack is a schema plus data. So you can use DACPAC for any size of database, right? Because this is just a schema, and I'll show you some of these in the demo. But backpack, if your databases are in terabyte size, probably not a good idea to create a backpack and try to deploy it in Azure, right? This is going to be slow unless you can have a huge downtime you can afford. You can go to that route, but probably not a good, not for bigger databases. But if you have a smaller size database, which I'll show you, you can easily create a backpack file and just deploy it. And then, pretty soon you'll be up and running in cloud. We already talked about it. This is a URL that I put. So as you can see, once I take my cursor, you see this. You can read more about it, because this is something a lot of people don't think about. And then when they go to the cloud, they see everything is running fine until and unless they start looking at their word types, because there are new word types. Just to expose this, people say, my app is slow. You don't see any blocking. You do not see they are waiting for other resources, right? uh, like we see, like, I'm waiting for a disk IO, I'm waiting for a memory allocation for a sort or something. You don't see any of those word types, and you're wondering what's going on here. And there's a new word type just to expose this. Then you see that actually behind the scene, your transaction log rate is getting governed by Microsoft, just because of the reason that I told you before. So these are some of the choices you make. Then it comes to the feature, because we are used to on premises, whatever feature it comes to it. Just to give you an example, I can run a SQL Server engine, and I can have integration service, reporting service all in one. Some of those now you can also deploy separately in some of the newer versions. We are used to high availability FCI, log shipping, always on availability group. Some people use transactional replication, which I do not consider, but depending on what you need, you can do that. We are using server level logins, AD groups, and then we make users out of those logins. We have SQL agent jobs, system databases. Some of these things are not available in some of the resources that you'll be migrating to, so you need to be aware of that, right? And there are also ways to mitigate those, right? If you are using SQL Server integration services like SSIS packages, You can now, there is a Azure SSIS runtime in Azure Data Factory. You can do that, or you can rewrite those, using, use some other services in Azure. SQL Server Reporting Services is not available with Azure SQL Database. So in that case, you might look at other solutions like Power BI. There are also RDL, which is the raw file for reporting, for reports. There are, I think, there's something called like RDL migration tool. I haven't used it, but I saw it. You can use that to convert your RDL files, I think, to some Power BI reports. High availability, some of these are available, some are not in Azure SQL Database, right? Azure SQL Database also has some similar concept of always on availability group with failover groups. So, you might want to look at that. Agent jobs, I have a whole 1 hour talk, where is my SQL Server agent when I go to cloud, right? So there's something called Elastic Job, which has been in preview for years, and I do not have any insight. You can use it, only drawback that you cannot run your PowerShell scripts like you can do on premises. So you need to look at that. If you need to run your PowerShell scripts for your SQL Server agent jobs, you can use Azure Function. You can use Azure Automation can do runbooks. I have like I said, a whole different talk. There is, if you go to Azure SQL Database, you only see master in your, when you connect to it in your SSMS or with Azure Data Studio. You can do some, digging into the TempDB, but there is no model or MSDB. So these are some of the surprise, if you are not, reading enough and doing some tests. So you might get caught off guard. So just so you know. Now I said, some of this stuff are not available, but there are some other features that are available that you should be excited about when you go to Azure. So give you an example. With Azure SQL Database, I do not have to worry about backup. I just tell it that I want my point in time backup. You can go up to 35 days max. And then I want my long-term backup retention up to 10 years, I can go. And you just configure it one time and then you forget about it. You don't have to worry about it, which is nice. We are used to, on-premises Active Directory authentication. Um, if your on-premises Active Directory is in sync with with your Azure Active Directory, which is now called Entra, you see in my slide, Entra authentication, then you will still be able to use your on-premises accounts. But if you are not, then those accounts are not going to work. So you need to talk with someone in your company if they have set up replication. You have built-in auditing that you can just, within a couple of clicks, you can turn that on. You have a ledger, so read about that. It's another cool feature. If you need to prove to your clients that this data hasn't been tampered with, you can turn that on. There are built-in, Defender is another service which will do your vulnerability assessment, threat protection. So like suddenly you get a login from an IP that hasn't logged in for last 60 days, you can automatically have sent you an alert, and then you should be able to click that and go and see more details. Then, and you can see, if someone is trying to connect to it. If there is one single IP is trying to make a lot of connections, you can get alerted. So there are more into this, so you can look at it. SQL Insight is in preview for Azure Monitor. Cool product. You can set this up and give you a lot of insights built in. Also, you can write some CUS to query language and set up your alerts and monitoring from there. Again, I'm not going to list all this. Intelligent Performance is also an on-premises solution, been available since SQL 2017. It is also there. Query Performance Insight, another awesome built-in tool. And another good feature that I like, and that on premises, once we bought a hardware, we provision it, we're running it, that's it, you're stuck with it, right? Now you can do scale up and scale down, and with the SQL Insight from preview, based on your workload and based on some metrics, you can actually have call a Azure function or a runbook, um, uh, and then you can have a code behind the scene that will automatically scale up and down your resources, right? So you can control all those based on your business need, which you could not do on premises. So now, getting to the migration part. Again, this slide, all of these tools that I mentioned here, some of these I'll show you, some of these I will not show you. Um, And some of these you see on both sides, right? Like data migration assistant, which I'll show you. This can do both. This can assess our database for compatibility for migration. This can also do the migration. uh, Azure Migrate is the one place that you can do a lot of stuff. So you'll see some stuff on both sides. Some you also only see in one of the columns. I have notes about this a lot, but I'm not going to go there. I'd rather go to the demo. But I just want to introduce some of this. And this is also copy pasted. I have the link in the resource page that actually compares. Oops, I see my slide actually. I don't know. No, I cannot. Sorry. I went over the slide a little bit. I see that it's cut down at the bottom. I'm sorry about that, but once you get it, you can. I'll send you a PDF format. This is a good slide, and this is actually from a website um, that will give you, because it's hard to remember in your brain, right? Sometimes even I forget which one does what, right? Like DMA, DMS, DEA, right? These are all like similar name. So this is a one good, if you're new to this, print it, put it at your workplace, then you know what you need. Find it from the left side, go to the right, see the green, square, and then you know which tool you can use. And I actually did this from here. So this is another link that you want to bookmark. This talks about all the tools and compare and contrast, and will give you a good guidance based on you need that what tool you should be looking at. Now, from my experience, we were chatting before we started with Kazi and Chris, that when I embarked into this journey about 6 years ago, and in last 6 years, what I find out that for anyone starting this journey, exporting schema is easy. Yes, you will have some errors, some stuff probably not supported, but you can do a build, using Visual Studio, and there are other tools that you can find out, what are the syntaxes, or which objects are not compatible, and it will tell you, and then you can modify those, and you can redeploy, or you can do a rewrite. The challenge comes to data, right? How do you push all this data from your data center to Azure, right? Yes, you can have express route, but then it still can be slow if you have terabytes of data, right? And how much downtime you can afford. So this becomes a challenge for many people. So I wrote a couple of things that I looked at when I was doing this. And then I also try to, in the boxes, right, some of the pros and cons, right? Which one need downtime, which one is expensive, and all that. So look at those, right? Some of these might save you some grief, but I'll show you a solution now. Microsoft actually did a lot of improvement with the online migration now. So you can literally, like log shipping, you can set up everything and then keep syncing, and then take a very short downtime. Doesn't matter how big is your database, and you can cut over within minutes. Doesn't matter how big your size is. So uh, you know and that tool, it was not that matured before, and people try to use some of these solutions that I put in this slide. And then there's another solution called Azure Data Box, which is, you literally can order from Microsoft. They will ship you one. You can put your data there and put it in a truck or in a plane, and they will take it to their data center and they will load it for you. Also, you can have a device which is called a data box gateway that you can put in your virtual environment in a VM, and then if you write it there, it will automatically transfer it to Azure storage if you need that kind of. Otherwise, if you want to say, I'm not going to take any more full backup, this is my biggest full backup, ship it, I'm just going to keep taking transaction log, then I'm just going to restore those. I'm just giving you an example, or you might have other scenarios. You can literally order. There are different sizes. I think they go up to data box heavy, I think. Yeah, I think it's up to 1 petabyte. And I think out of 1 petabyte, if I remember correctly, you can use up to 800 terabyte. That's the biggest one. I think data box is there are different sizes. I think there's 140 terabyte, 100 terabyte, and 1 petabyte. That's it. So I will go to the demo, and I'm going to use all this. So I'm not going to talk about this anymore. And let me bring up my demo screen. So there'll be a lot of tools I'll be using. And again, if you get confused, if you want me to slow down, please put it in the chat. So the organizers can stop me, and I can, I can talk about this because it's a lot of moving pieces. It can be difficult sometimes to follow, especially if you're, we are, everybody's remote. So stop me anytime, please. Uh, the tool that you see, this is called Azure Data Studio. This is by Microsoft. This is multi-platform. This is extension based. What I mean by that, this is a very lightweight tool when you install it, but then there's something called extension. There is extensions written by Microsoft, third-party, individual, MVPs, other data professionals. You can turn on and off extensions based on your needs. Some of these we will use today. And you can write notebooks. I'm using a notebook with PowerShell kernel. I'm not going to go into details. If you look online, there are some awesome talks by many people. They talk about, what's the advantage of a notebook. As you can see here, if I go to the top, I started with some notes. There are some URLs. And then I also have my PowerShell code in between. I can run this, I can save the result, and I can ship it to someone. And there are other kernels. There are SQL kernels, there are Kusto kernels, there are Python kernels. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. So before all of you came online, this script will create all this. I'll share all this. These are some of the references that I used. And to follow my demo, these are all the prerequisites. And I'm sorry about this. This is a long list, but to show you everything, I needed to do all this. And it takes a lot of time to set this up. And again, if you get stuck, please send me an email and I'll definitely help you out. So I ran all of this. As you can see, some of the output that I saved, and I'm going to skip. These are all have enough notes that you can read. It will tell you which section is doing what. There is one section that I want to talk about, and I did not get enough time to update this, but I did deploy it in a different way. Azure Database Migration Service. So this code is going to create a classic one, and the classic one is going to get deprecated in 2026. I already deployed the newer one in a different way, not from this, but I'm working on to update this section. Hopefully, so no, I just didn't get enough time to do this because I deployed it, from Azure Data Studio, from extension, which saved me, I just didn't get around. So just so you know, and then my demo will start here. So again, I will not be able to go through all this. So if you have a particular, let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller so people can see this in one page. Should be able to make it a little bit. Yeah, then the fonts get smaller. But if you have a choice of any of the tools that you want to see, put it in the chat. I'll jump on there first because I have this whole list, and we'll be here probably till midnight if I have to show you all this. But I have demo, ready for all of this. So I'll show a couple of those, and then you can try it out by yourself. But if you have a choice, put in the chat. So the first one, and some of this I will deploy. It takes some time to make it to the Azure. Uh, Steve read my mind because I just brought up SSMS. Okay. Yes. So this is the easiest one, right? Someone is new to this. You do not know anything. You might want to just come here and do this from a GUI without writing a single line of code. So Stephen Moore, Steve read my mind anyway. But before I do this, I also want to show you portal, what I did through that script that I showed you. So there's something called resource group. This is a logical container. The advantage of this, you always want to group your stuff. Now, again, if you're doing it in your company, do not just start grouping stuff in resource group. Please talk to your network team. Understand your network design, right? You will regret it if you don't do that from the beginning. I can tell you right now. There are many different models to do how you do your networking based on that, how, and also your billing, how you do your billing. That's a big part. So, but again, I'm not going to get there anymore. So I have put all this in a resource group. I named it with my name. So once I'm done with demo, right, I'm trying to squeeze my money that I have because all of this costing me money. I'm just going to delete my resource group. That way I do not have to delete all this by manually. So if we, do this, as you can see, I have, bunch of things. So one thing you will need before you do this from SSMS is a SQL Server. Now this is another logical container. You get a master with this, and then each database has their own resource, as you can see here on the right. And even though mine all look same because I did it from my script, but you can have all different kind of SQ and have different kind of databases here, right? So you will definitely need an empty server, and you will need a way to connect to that server, right? Then you can use SSMS, like Steve said he wants to see the SSMS one. So this is my local machine, SQL Server 2022 CU9, which came out I think last week. So I'm just going to, I have a bunch of demo I use for different reasons, but I'm just going to take AdventureWorks, which you all know. And I actually put it in my prerequisite where you can get a backup and restore it in your on premises. So if you come here, it's pretty clear, deploy database to Microsoft Azure SQL Database. Next. I need to now connect to my Azure SQL Server. So I've done this from yesterday. I've been testing it. I have a SQL login. I'm connecting to it. It can connect. One tips, when you do any kind of migration, allocate a bigger server on your destination or database because of all the restrictions that we talk about, like, throughput and all that, right? And then later on, once you're done, based on your need, you can scale it down, right? So I'm just going to get, a little bit bigger so it can do it faster. And look at this behind the scene, what it is doing. And we can go there and we can take a look, or it's creating a backpack file. That's why I showed you that script. Sorry, that slide that I said backpack and DACpack will come into this a lot. So backpack, if you remember, data and schema. So if it's a huge database, you probably don't want to do this, but this is a tiny database, so we'll do this. So we go there, finish, and that's it. It's extracting, it's going to do its stuff. We'll come back and look at it. We have nothing else to do. But if there are, objects that are not compatible, you will get an error, right? So we're not going to watch this all circling. We can come back and we can take a look at it later on. And once it's done, I'll show you in the Azure SQL Database. Actually, I'm connected to it right here. So if we go here now, still you don't see anything, but pretty soon, I'm pretty sure we'll start seeing a database there, right? Right now, it's only extracting from the source, and then it will, looking at everything, then it will start, after validation, it will start deploying. Then there will be a new database will show up, right? Exporting data. Okay, so yeah, so let it rip. We'll come back. Okay, so let's go back to our. If anybody has any choice after that, what do you want to see? Otherwise, I'll pick my own. Yeah, I don't see anything, but if you have one, put in the chat. So I will go to Database Migration Assistant because this can do a couple of things. Again, a Microsoft tool. Yeah, this was all last night, me testing different things. So here, okay, Steve, you're welcome. Here you can see we can do both two things. And, off topic, even if you're doing a version upgrade in your on-premises, this is a nice tool to use. Because it can tell you if I'm going from SQL Server 2017 to 2022, is anything going to break? And I'll show you a couple of other cool things. So first, let's just do an assessment. So come cloud with us, demo. I don't know, because I might have the same name. Assessment type database engine, SQL Server, target Azure SQL Database. Here you can choose if you want to go to managed instance, you want to go to virtual machine, or SQL Server to SQL Server, right? So let's just choose this, create. And these are the two things it's going to do. So in a nutshell, I'm not going to read this, and I'm not going to go into details. It will tell you if there is something is definitely going to block your migration. It will also tell you some stuff that, hey, I'll let you do this, but you want to know that these things are going to be deprecated. So you better start looking at those, right? And it also looks at if you have SQL Server agent jobs, if you have other things like we talked about that's not available in your destination, it will tell you, right? So go to next. And now here I'm choosing my, my local instance, Windows authentication, connect, and let's choose all database because we are not migrating, we're just assessing. Now, here you see one thing. Look at this. I'm not going to do this today. So if you have your application code, also you want to verify against your target, you can do that. So you can have extended event trace file taken, saved, and you can upload here. It will also do assessment on that. So it's not only your database schema, you can also get your application code, get assessed here through this tool. So keep that in mind. Okay, we did this. We say start assessment. I'm already in 2022 CU9, pretty, latest. That's the latest you can get on premises. So you probably wouldn't see much here, right? But again, you see service broker, server scope credential is not, in Azure SQL database, you always think, as a contained database within the database, not like at a server level login. Then you make a user out of it. And then there's also compatibility issues. Yeah, I don't have any, but if I was doing probably a SQL Server 2012, I'll probably get a bunch of stuff here. Now, one cool thing you look at here, I can upload this to Azure Migrate, my assessment. And what it does, so hopefully I had issues with it yesterday. Hopefully I can, okay, good. So it's letting me go there. It is now connecting to my Azure account. It found my migrate project, upload, and then I'll show you what does that mean. If you're doing a bulk migration, this is awesome. So if you, now let me bring this here. Look at this. I did this for 6 database, right? And if I click here, so if you have hundreds and thousands, how cool is this? Tells me I have 0 blocker. There's a breaking change count. My databases are ready for Azure SQL DB, for VM, right? So you can get everything in one place. You can also do it from here. Instead of, I pushed it from on premises, you can have an agent loaded in your data center. It will find all your SQL databases. It will do that and it will push it here so you can see everything in one place. Okay. Let's do quickly a migration. Cloud with us. Migration. Server Azure schema and data, right? So let's pick a small one. Only one migration, starting a new migration. Okay. Yeah, we don't care. Server name, again here, Windows, connect. Let's just do one. Next. My target server, SQL authentication. Connect. And now it actually found with the same name, which I do not want it to use. I'm going to use this because it saw the same name because which we are doing from SSMS, and it actually picked up this, right? So I'm just going to take a database DMA, which means database migration assistant. I created this before. It's a shell database. It's empty. We can go to my management studio and I can show you that there's nothing here right now. And while we are here, let's see what is the, okay, this is still working. So let it work. Okay, so we're going to do this. Next. Here I can choose. So during my assessment, if I got a warning that one of your store procedure is not compatible, and you want to start some testing, you might tell the developers go and fix it. I'm going to put other stuff so you can start testing the other part of the application, right? So you can choose here, pick and choose that what you do not want to migrate. And this is actually going to create a script for you even, right? That you can send it to the developers if you want to, or you can, go and put it in your pipeline or whatever you want to do. Or you can deploy it from here, which you'll see. So it's pretty much scripting out your schema and letting you deploy it from here, save it, deploy it manually, whatever works for you. Okay, this is taking a little bit longer than my practice. So we might move into something else and then come back here. Okay, so this one is done. At least let's go back and look at this. So this is done with the one that we did from SSMS, right? You can go and definitely see that all succeeded, right? So we close. And let me show you this first. So now we have a AdventureWorks database here, which we migrated from here. Oops, sorry, I did right here. Right? So just a couple of clicks. We didn't write any code or anything. It's the same, exact same AdventureWorks that we have here. Okay, so this did it. Now I can just go and say deploy schema. Now, if I have a bigger database, using this process, I can decide that I'm just going to do my schema migration, but for data, I'm going to use something else, right? I can BCP out, BCP in, I can set up transactional replication, which there are some restrictions, your table has to have primary keys and all that. I can do it, in many different ways if you choose to, right? It's up to you, because at this point, if you're planning to do your data, you probably want to shut down your application and make sure that nobody's writing to it, right? So you don't want to lose a transaction. Okay, so we'll let this go. Let's go back to here and see what we can. So we looked at this. We looked at both, right? Assessment and migration. Azure Database Migration Service. So this is something we want to look at. This is interesting. So we'll look at this. And I can tell you one thing. This experience and this experience from the Azure Data Studio is pretty same. So I'll probably just do one thing from here and then I'll do one from here. But they are behind the scene. They are using the same service and pretty much same thing. You're just doing it from two different places. Okay, let's do it here. We'll just push the data sync and then we'll move to the other one. It's pretty much done. If any questions, put in the chat, or if you think I'm going too fast. I'm trying to cover as many tools as I can. Right, it's done. If I get an error message, as you can see the way this is written, you can, deploy over and over. You can redeploy, but we have all success. I can go to the data and then I can migrate the data from here. Again, probably for a very tiny database, right? Start data migration. So I'm going to let it rip. We'll come back. Okay, so let's go back here. this is your central place. If you're doing a bulk migration, bunch of things, what fail, which one is at what stage, you can do all this from here, which you'll see. I also have integration runtime, which I'm running in my own laptop, self-hosted. You can run it, you can use it in Azure, or you can have your own integration runtime in your own machine. You can choose either way. This is the engine behind the migration that is going to work. So go to a new migration. SQL Server type. Let's do a virtual machine. Right. So let's migrate to a virtual machine. I actually created a virtual machine just for this purpose, which is an Azure VM called TLE SQL VM. And I'm connected to it also from here. This is my VM. So right now, as you can see, there is no database, right? So do a SQL Server Azure VM. You need a blob storage and do it offline. So what is this expecting? Let me run through this and I'll show you. This found my VM. Blob container. Okay, so in order for us to, I think I probably missed a step here. Okay, no. Okay, so I need a backup to be available here, right? So in my code, I put this, I have a storage account with the container, which is going to take AdventureWorks backup and we'll push it there, right? This is from my own premises. So if you have a bigger database, you can actually have your regular transaction log getting pushed there. And actually, let's do an online migration. Let me show you this. I think that probably will be more useful. You can do both, right? If you say, I have every file there, my application is shut down, I don't, you can do it offline, but most likely, because of the downtime restriction, you'll probably always want to do online migration so you can cut over. So let's try this again. Let's do an online migration now. Hopefully my backups are done. Okay, done. So I need to put this in a folder. That's something I did not found yesterday. Okay, so why it is, okay, so the back files are here. Just gonna give it another try. I don't know where. Target, okay, good. This is weird. Okay, I'm just going to skip this. We'll try to do this from, let's just do it against Azure SQL Database. So, and then I can show you this from the Azure Data Studio. So let's try to do it against Azure SQL Database. With Azure SQL Database, you can only do an offline migration. And before you do this, you have to make sure that you already deployed your schema. And here we can give the name for my on-premises server name. Let's go back and see what's going on with the other migration. Okay, so this is all done, as you can see. So if anyone has a question on the data migration assistant, just put in the chat. So I'm not going to come back to this. So as you can see, we can do both assessment and we can also do migration. And while this is working, let's go and try to look at something else. Okay, so we are here. So let's try to do like a DBA database. I don't know if I have a, should have, yeah, DBA database. So I already put a shell and the schema just to show you this. And it find everything. I just need my password. We'll finish it with at 8:15. Okay, so yeah, it automatically picked this up, DBA database. And if you read here, select the target where you'd like to migrate. So you can choose here, whatever I already staged this. And I only have a table with just a couple of records for demo purpose. It will also give you an option which tables to migrate, same as the other tool. This is a disadvantage of live demo, right? Sometimes, especially against Azure cloud, I mean, any cloud provider, that you have no control on the speed sometime. Especially, this is a peak time, people are watching streaming stuff and whatnot. So, and I'm about 600 miles from where I have my resources. So, there's, like I said, target table is not empty because I was testing it, but it's going to override. So, and now you can say start migration. And as you can see, I tried few things. Now this one is getting, getting ready. And these are all, I was probably playing with this one yesterday. These were like around midnight or whatever. Okay, so let this go and let me show you this. See if we can do this online migration. So we'll try to go to Adventure Works. And if I go to Manage, Azure SQL Migration, you will only see this if you have this extension, which I talked about at the beginning. Azure SQL Migration. You have to have this extension enabled, installed and enabled in order for you to see this. Otherwise, you would not see this. So make sure you turn that on first. Let's get some space back. Come on. Let's shrink all this. Okay. Now, I say migrate to Azure SQL. There's also, you can use this for assessment. You can actually keep assessing it for a few days. It will actually look at your couple of WMI counters, your CPU memory network, and it will actually tell you what size of VM or managed instance or Azure SQL database you need to migrate this load, which is cool. So let's just pick this one. I can also give a extended event session, which I talked about before in the other tool, that can assess for you if you want to. Okay, now this is saying that I can go to any of these three solutions based on what it saw in my database. So let's pick up virtual machine. Hopefully this time we can do this. Select the database to migrate. Oh, sorry, okay. Here you can get recommendation. It takes days, it looks at your workload and can tell you exactly what size of VM I need, but we don't have time for that. So we selected one database, default directory, found this, found my VM. Hopefully I don't run into the same issue. Online migration, my backups are already there. Okay, this is my migration service. See, this time I did not, and this is what I saw yesterday. I was surprised that I can have it in the root of my container. It works, but from the GUI, and I did it last night a few times, I did not. So we are doing the same thing just from here. And we are doing it online migration. So you'll see the difference. And I'll say start migration. So what this is going to do now, you saw that full backup and that transaction log backup. It is going to apply those, but it is not going to recover my database. If I'm keep sending my transaction logs every 5, 10, 15 minutes, it will keep applying those. When I'm ready to cut over, I can come here and say, so I stop my app, take a transaction log, last one. I stop taking transaction log backup, and I'll show you in the portal. I'll say I'm ready to cut over. Then only it is going to do what we always do, right? During migrations, or you do upgrade like recover with restore with recovery. So it is going to recover your database. So you will see that. So let's go to portal and see what we see there. So when I'm doing this, my database size really doesn't matter. I can have a terabyte, multi-terabyte. I have to start early, right? I have to know say like I want to cut over, I don't know, like Friday midnight, I have to have some idea how long it's going to take me to push my backup, or if I'm already taking backup directly to the using the URL, I need to have some idea how long it's going to take me to restore, and then the diffs and the tlogs, right? So that's something, that's why you test. Now you see I have two, right? This is the one we just started, the first one. It is restoring. So it's restoring my full backup, and then it's going to restore the tlog, and then it will actually tell me that it is ready for cutover right here. And we can come back and we can tell it. It will give you a warning. You say, yes, I know I have no more logs to, because once you recover, you cannot say, this is DBA 101 that I cannot restore anymore. So you can do that. So we let this run. Chris or Abdul, do you have time for another one? Maybe introduce another tool, or both of you are on mute. Okay, so I think I see you
Yeah.
head nodding.
Sorry. We promise we're
Okay.
not sleeping. I'm watching this like a kid in a candy store right now. So this is.
Oh no, I
awesome.
know you are not, but I just saw your mute button. So anyway, I'll go, and yeah. So I don't know where to go. I also have one just from command line. So let's do a command line, and then I have one with the Visual Studio. If anybody's interested, I can do that. But so this is, there's a SQL package.exe command line tool. It used to, nowadays you can download it separately. Before it used to come in your DAG bin folder, I think up to 140 compatibility level. I think in 160, in 2022, it doesn't come by default, but you can download, just search for SQL package.exe. Because some of you might be thinking, why this guy is all GUI, he don't know how to code, or, I only like command line. So for you folks, just to make you happy, I'll just do this. So I'm just cleaning up my, if I have my old backups. Okay, so there's nothing there. Okay, so now I'm going to this folder. I downloaded this, and my source database again is AdventureWorks, and I'm just saying, give me a backpack file, right? And I told you what is backpack is a data and schema together, right? So I'm just creating a backpack file. Now, this backpack file, I can straight restore to Azure SQL Server as a Azure SQL Database. I can push it to a storage account if I want to, and then I can restore it from there. Doesn't make any difference. Your end game is same, but it's just a matter of choice how you want to do it. So I gave you both. And if you want to copy files, I just want to introduce another tool. I'm not going to use it. There's something called Azure Storage Explorer. Very handy. If you're moving a lot of files from on-premises to there, this can, this has a lot of functions, give you timings, what is speed, what not. You can use this. Actually, once you log in, it shows you all your containers. So if you don't want to write some PowerShell, or there's another command called azcopy. I think azcopy is a module, or yeah, azcopy. You can also use it command line. There are multiple options. I'm trying to introduce as many tools as I can that you can, decide what you want to do. So once it's done, I can copy using any of this, and then I can use, oh gosh, okay, come on. So it's just creating that backpack file. Then I can take this, copy this to my, to my storage account, the storage account we've been using, and I can restore it from there with a command called new Azure SQL Database import. You can do that. Or you say, no, why do I bother to copy? I know my network is good. I have express route. I don't want to do this. So as you saw, I saved it in the C temp, right? I can straight using SQL package.exe instead of using another, PowerShell module. SQL.exe has a command called import. I can import it directly to my Azure SQL Server that we've been using. So I can do it this way. So there are, like multiple options. I'm not, what is right, wrong, you have to decide for yourself. So, okay, so this is successfully done. We're not going to copy this. I just showed you there are two different ways. I would either use Storage Explorer or AZ copy command. but I'm just going to do it from here. And my database name, it's in a variable. You're not going to see my password. This is my server name. And there are other options in SQL package.exe. You can look it up, if you go to Learn website. Right. So it is now going to. So if we go to this variable SQL, we'll see there will be a new database there. So how many is running at this time? I kind of got lost. So let's try to wrap this up. I'm not going to start anymore. I have another one demo was from Visual Studio. You can, if you are a developer, I'm sure you probably know this more than me. You can create a project, and then you can build a project. You can choose your targets. It will tell you in the build process that these are the objects are not going to be allowed to deploy. So, and then in the Visual Studio project, the good part is you can open it in the Project Explorer. You can uncheck those objects and you can make another build and then you can deploy. One trick, I have to mention this because otherwise you will not be able to do it. And I do not know, I'm not going to badmouth Microsoft, but this feedback has been given many, many times. I wrote it here just so you will have it. When publishing, under advanced publish setting, enable allow incompatible platform, because it sees the version here as 160, over there it sees version 12 or 14, I think right now. And it says, I cannot, you are incompatible. So if you check this on, you'll be good to go. Even in Visual Studio, I checked it last night, latest version 2022, I deployed all the service, and I still got the same. So it is there, and it is there probably 5 years ago, I remember. So anyway, and I'm not going to. Okay, so we are not there yet. So I'll take few questions. The only thing I'll show you here is that how to cut over if it comes up, within next 2-3 minutes. Otherwise, we'll forget about it. You can test it yourself. So at some point, it is going to show here. It will say ready to cut over.
Wow.
And if we actually go to Management Studio right now, in my VM, you should see that, it's restoring.
Okay.
Until it gives me the option to cut over, and I give a thumbs up to cut over, not thumbs up, I have to click the button, this database will stay in restoring because it is expecting more log files to restore. So this is, they've made it very seamless now. So it doesn't matter the size anymore. You just have to backtrack. You know when you want to go live there, test how much time you need, start it that early. Full diff tlog, like we've been doing this on premises for years. Same concept, very seamless. It works. I tried it, as you can see last night, I was playing with it. It works. So if this comes back, I will show this. Otherwise, and if we go here, we should see the one that I did from the SQL package.exe. Yeah, right here. Backpack 2. This is probably still working on, but you will see some Adventure Works stuff here. Yep, looks like same as Adventure Works. So this is coming from what we did down here. Yeah, it's still updating database. So, it's working on that. So that's done. So the only thing I didn't show you is the Visual Studio, but you get the concept. And then I will, if this ever comes back, we'll see. Otherwise, we can go back to any discussion, question and answer. Hopefully that was useful. I'm going to try what I did not work, that it asked for a folder, which very surprising. Like, as you can see, I think I did some stuff here. Even, last night it was working, but I have to test. I might have done something wrong. I'll put some notes in the notebook if I see something that, that I missed. So that's it, Chris and Abdul, get to you. Like I said, if we see this, if people are still there, I can show it. Otherwise, we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, I know we have a few viewers on. Just want to say thank you for everybody tuning in. I think this has been awesome. This is really awesome to see all these different tools. I knew of some of them. I haven't used a handful of them, so I'm definitely drinking from the fire hose tonight too. It's been just fantastic. see some of this. This is interesting that, I'm happy that you kind of left this up and running, because, I'm a little more on the VM side of the house. So, from Azure Migrate, it's like, this looks very familiar. That ability to say, all right, fail over, fail back. I'm assuming it's the same technology, look and feel. But yeah, it's comfortable for me, even not as a SQL guy. This is a comfortable environment. So, but yeah,
and if I was, I'm home using my own laptop, right? If I was doing in my office computer, I'm sure we have Express Route. Adventure Works shouldn't be taking, this long. But plus, my integration runtime, my resource is small, because I'm just trying to maximize my money that I get from Microsoft to stretch it as long as I can. So that's probably some of the reason. But yeah. I mean, it's
and
not,
we're
it's not
streaming live too, so it's a thing. That's fine. But yeah, so yeah, I don't see any other questions coming in. We'll give another minute here. If anybody else has questions, any comments, again, we appreciate you all tuning in.
And I did put some resource here, like, people want to read more. I put some reference here, and again, like folks, I know there's a lot of tools, a lot of, back and forth, because otherwise you'll be just seeing spinning wheel and it's going to take long. So I try to run few in parallel, but like I said at the beginning, any question anyone has, I'll be definitely happy to, help you out one-on-one. Oh, I just had to do, this is not right. See, I didn't, I was afraid of doing this refresh, and it was actually done, but 8 or 9, start time 8 or 9/11. So it was done actually right now. So let me just show this, because now don't tell me that I cannot. Ready to cut over? Yeah. Oh, I'm on the, okay. So sorry, I have to go through here because I started this from here. I totally forgot. Do I have to do this from here? No, refresh. Come on. All database migration. Okay. Oh, I see. Ready for cutover. Oh, come on. Okay. Complete cutover. You see, I have to. Now, see this warning? Stop all incoming transaction. Take a final log backup, if you want to. And if I say, okay, I've done everything, I confirm, and I completely cut over. So just before you do this, just want to show people one thing, that is still in recovery. As you can see, if we refresh, it's restoring. I do this, and it is within few minutes or less than, because I don't have any other. You see, it's recovered. So pretty much your downtime can be in minutes, right? Just shut down your application, take the last T-log, and push it there, and it's a cutover, irrespective of your size. Of course, like I said, you have to, start from early, depending on what time you want to go live. So this is this, and it's actually from the portal, and you can write PowerShell. If you're doing hundreds of these, you're not going to do this like the way I did, right? But I cannot demo all this in this short period of time. So okay, so I'll keep quiet. Let's call it a day, unless someone has question. Like, again, I'll send you a GitHub link, or I'll put it in my website, and please reach out to me. I know this is too fast, many things, a lot of context switching, but and I couldn't find a better way to show all this. So.
Oh, so I don't see any other questions coming in. Abdul, anything you want to share at this point? Any other questions you have?
No, thank you for coming on. And this was a great demo. Really appreciate your time. And yeah, with that being said, we'll wrap it up. So thanks everybody for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.